Bibliophiles of the internet, my name's Adriana, and today I'm here to highlight the best books that I read in 2016. So for those of you who are new here, I've been doing this format for the past few years and I really enjoy it. Basically, I'm going to list all of my favorite books from this past year, and then in a brief sentence or two, I will explain what I enjoyed about that book. It's pretty straightforward, but the reasons I'll be giving for including these books may be a bit more personal. It's more about what I got from the story, how it impacted or enriched my life, or just my overall takeaway. And for those of you wondering, I will not be ranking these books, I will be listing them chronologically. I don't think there's anything else to add, so without any further ado, let's get started. First up is Goodbye Stranger by Rebecca Stead. Because while life is a constant reconciliation of the past with the present, when we grow and change, some people don't grow with us, and that's okay. The Hunter x Hunter series by Yoshihiro Togashi. Because the goals you're so desperately reaching for now may change or may remain as distant as ever, which is why it's the friends and the memories you fight to keep along the way that really matter the most. Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. Because those who are meant to protect us and shelter us are not infallible. It's the willingness to face things together that gives us the ability to endure. The first two books in the Fairyland series by Catherine M. Valente. Because we must teach ourselves to listen not only to the dulcet tones of happiness, but to the echoes of regret and sorrow, and with that attentiveness there is truly nothing that we cannot discover. King's Rising by C.S. Pacat. Because we are not the things that have been done to us, but the choices we make after living through them. The Chew series by John Layman and Rob Guillory. Because we may not control the abilities that we have, but we do have a say in how we use them. How to Live Safely in a Science Fictional Universe by Charles Yu. Because the inherited burden of unfulfilled dreams is what keeps us trapped in the past, a prison from which we can only release ourselves. A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Sometimes the simple act of loving and allowing oneself to be loved is proof enough of survival. The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. Because even in mangled histories and distorted lies, there is some semblance of truth to be found if only we remain determined enough to find it, no matter what barriers we face. The Phoebe and Her Unicorn books by Dana Simpson. Because the rarest kind of magic, yes, even more rare than a unicorn, is the perfect, timely treasure of true friendship. The Real Boy by Anne Ursu. Because the world will try to teach us to fear what lives within ourselves, and we cannot allow it because it will be that fear rather than our own abilities that will limit us the most. Kindred by Octavia Butler. A wound once opened will eventually heal if given enough time, but the open wound that is slavery is one that we re-aggravate every minute of every day, to the point where collectively we won't remember a time when we didn't have this scar, as if it's always been a part of us. Santa Olivia by Jacqueline Carey. Because the power of one person is nothing compared to the power of a symbol, the product of a group's collective need to resist. The Raven King by Maggie STIEFVATER. It's the way of nature to destroy, devour, and collapse, which is why it remains distinctly human to keep on searching, to keep on questioning, to keep on creating, to willfully disregard that everything is finite. The Search for Wanla by Tony de Terlizzi. Because when we encounter something different, something out of the ordinary, something we didn't expect, we can only better ourselves by recognizing the opportunity to embrace and respect that which we do not yet understand. If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. Because in the age-old adage, everyone is deserving of love, there are no exceptions. Pax by Sarah Pennypacker. Because while heartbreak and loss are unavoidable, we can make ourselves stronger for when we meet them by opening ourselves up to love in all of its frightening power. Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. Because it's the cold, brutal, unforgivingly extraordinary places where we're truly allowed to be ourselves that we call home. Even if they have no further need of us, we will never really be through with them. Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. Because when no one gives you the space or permission to be who you really are, sometimes you have to find or even make space for yourself to exist. Some Kind of Happiness by Claire Legrand. Because if you pretend long enough, the line between what is pretend and what is real will begin to blur. Sometimes the act of telling the truth is, in itself, an act of healing. You Know Me Well by David Levithan and Nina LaCour. Because we are not hopeless so long as we remember that we retain the capacity to have pride in ourselves and those around us. Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. Because marginalized people are expected to renounce or sacrifice their beliefs and cultures in order to gain access to greater education and by extension acceptance, which is exactly why we must refuse to let them take it from us. The Rose and the Dagger by Renee Ahdieh. because we cannot forget the pain that we've caused, because those who we've hurt don't have the privilege of forgetting. More important than making apologies is the willingness to make amends over and over as many times as it takes. The Star-Touched Queen by Roshani Chokshi. Because freedom obtained at the price of ignoring or discarding the truth and all of its ramifications is freedom not worth having. The Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin. Because these bodies were not made to merely survive, they were made to destroy, to desecrate, to resist, and to unearth all the things they never wanted us to know. Shelter by Jung Yun. Because sometimes the institutions that are supposed to protect us and validate us the most become our greatest source of alienation. His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. Because it can take someone from a completely different world to upend the principles you always believed to be self-evident. The best kind of friendships are the kind where the other person challenges you to think beyond the things you were always told to be true. The Voyage to Magical North by Claire Fayers. Because people need stories to encourage them to keep searching for the impossible, and because stories need people to carry them on and to fuel their power and poignancy with belief. The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. Sometimes to preserve and honor the institutions that shape who we are and who we will become, we must destroy what came before. The Curiosity House, The Shrunken Head by Lauren Oliver. Because the world doesn't get to decide whether we're monstrous or freakish just because we're different. Homegoing by Ya Jasi. Because who and what came before us will never stop affecting our lives, even if there's no way for us to remember. Merely existing in this moment, the very place our collective past has brought us, is an act of remembering, an act of coming home. Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. Because when you're entitled to nothing and the world yields nothing but grief and anguish and everything comes at a cost, there's really something to be said about love and loyalty that's given freely. NINEFOX Gambit by Yoon Ha Lee. Because the greatest weapon in war is the propensity for knowing the human mind and recognizing that the side that prevails will be the one whose cohesive beliefs refuse to be shattered. Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. Because our privilege in comparison to others will always be relative, it's when we become complacent about our implicit privilege that it becomes toxic, which is why we need to use it to make a difference. And finally, The Inexplicable Logic of My Life by Benjamin Allardyce. There's no one person we're supposed to become. We are all constantly in the process of becoming and growing. So those are all my favorite books from this past year. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of them, or feel free to share what were some of your favorite books that you read in 2016. But that is everything I had for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye!